Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from theuptrend.com. In the pre-market this morning, things are fairly quiet. Stock index futures are slightly below fair value. Commodities are mixed with crude oil slightly lower, while gold is up $4 in the pre-market on Wednesday morning. Now, we don't have any major economic numbers coming out this morning, but we do have energy inventories later in the morning. Let's start off, of course, taking a look at the VIX, and the VIX is still on a buy signal, telling us that options traders are still spooked about what's going to happen in October. The market wasn't too spooked yesterday. We had those big cap tech stocks lead the markets higher on Tuesday, being led higher by the S&P Technology ETF, then the Magnificent Seven, then we had semiconductors. NVIDIA continued to move higher yesterday. It's up again in the pre-market this morning. So we're currently trading above the August highs, still trying to take out the July highs. We may be able to do that today. Back in July, we could not get back up to the 137.50 level where we were back in June. So 137.50 is certainly doable. And if we could take out the June high, then 150 would come into play. Looking at the major index ETFs, we saw a lot of inside days on Tuesday. Inside day for the Dow Diamonds. We saw the S&P 500 move up, close above the upper channel line. Inside day for the equal-weighted S&P 500. Then we had the NASDAQ 100 closing above the upper channel line once again, as did the equal-weighted NASDAQ. And we've got the next generation NASDAQ closing at the upper channel line. No joy for the Russell 2000, small caps or micro caps. They all had an inside day on Tuesday. Of course, inside days are days of indecision. They're pause days. There's no winners. There's no losers. We're looking for a breakout of the previous day's range. Then energy had a complete reversal yesterday, and we did hit our next price target. So congratulations if you had an order up there at 93.75. And yesterday we came down to the 90.63 support level and held that support. If that breaks, then 87.50 is our next target to the downside. Now, there's some things not working in October, and healthcare and the biotechs have been on a sell signal for a couple of weeks now. So there's two sectors of the market not doing well. Now, we had a big sell-off in the metals and mining sector yesterday, not enough to generate a sell signal. At the end of the day, we closed just above the upper channel line. So if you're playing this ETF, we're looking for a close below 62.58 on Wednesday to give us a sell signal. Moving over to the Canadian market, we had a small pullback on the TSX, the TSX 60. We saw a pullback in the mid caps, small caps, and micro caps on Tuesday, but not enough to give us a sell signal. Of course, we saw a big reversal in the price of crude oil after making a new high. It came right back down and closed just at the previous day's low. We hit the 78.13 level. If you had an order in up there, congratulations, it got filled. And natural gas was down slightly on the day, had an inside day on Tuesday, so no change for natural gas. Copper and gold and silver all ended Tuesday on a sell signal, so that, of course, is not good for the Canadian commodity sector. There's the big reversal in the energy sector on the TSX. We already have gold stocks on a sell signal, no change there. The global mining index came back down. It is back on a sell signal as of Tuesday's close. At the same time, technology stocks moved higher in Toronto, being led higher by Shopify, and Shopify hit our next price target of 112.50. We had a high of 113.57, so you have no excuse if you didn't lock in some profits on Tuesday. And of course, you can see that we're up at the top of our projected trading range. Mathematically speaking, our next target is 118.75 if we can continue to move higher from here. Now, moving on to our stock of the day, and today we're looking at GE Aerospace, and if you've been with us for any length of time, back in the day, we used to make a lot of fun of GE before it split up into several parts. I'm not going to make fun of GE Aerospace. The stock has been motoring, currently ranked at 10 on the weekly chart, a 9 on the daily chart, and when we look at the monthly right side chart, you can see that back in late 2022, we started to take off. There's only been 1 month where we closed below the previous month's low. And anytime you're looking at a chart, if it's in an uptrend, the first sign that something could be happening is if we close below the previous bar's low. In this case, nothing showed up down below here, and then we came right back the next month. But it's only been one time in over a year, year and a half, that we closed below the previous month's low. So this stock is motoring. Remember, when you're looking at a chart like a monthly chart, you're filtering out all of the soap opera, all the noise that happened during the month. When you're looking at a weekly chart, you're filtering out everything that happened during the week, and the stock market is just like a soap opera. On Monday, people are saying good things about your stock. On Tuesday, people are saying bad things about your stock. There's rumors, there's backstabbing, there's people cheating, all kinds of stuff going on. You use the charts to filter all that out. And of course, a daily chart filters out everything that happened yesterday. And as long as we just focus on the closing prices, we can limit how much noise and static we have to deal with. Now, looking at the weekly flypaper channel chart, if I told you that you need to wait for the next dip before you get involved in this stock, you can see that to get back to the flypaper channel right now, which is still pointing nicely higher, it's way down at the $120 level. So for a stock to move from $187 down to $120, that's a huge, massive move. And if that happened, you wouldn't want to own the stock. So if we go to the daily flypaper channel, I would be looking for any opportunities to buy off the flypaper channel if I wanted to add to this particular stock or get into this particular stock at this time. Now, looking at price targets, looking at our weekly price targets, you can see our next price target is $200, but we seem to be stalled here. We've gone from $175, we're trying to get to $200. If you look at the daily price targets, you can see that between $175 and $200, we have 3 additional targets, and we're stuck right in the middle at the moment at $187.50, and yesterday we closed at $187.47, so that number is pretty important. You can see a couple of weeks ago we traded higher than that, and if we can break out above that level, then $193.75 and then $200 certainly come into play. Now, moving on to the weekly smart money chart, you can see that the pros have been in control for quite a while. They took a little dip here a couple of weeks ago. Looking at the public, you can see that it's a fairly flat line, and it's very hard for the public to have much influence over a big cap stock listed in a major index like the S&P 500. Now, when we're looking at this chart, you can see there's quite a divergence here. The pros peaked their activity back here, and then it started to drift off. And what we can assume from that, since there was no corresponding price movement, is they just stopped buying. And, the fact that they stopped buying doesn't mean that they were selling, does it now? So, that's what the chart's telling us, that they took a break. They accumulated as much as they wanted, but they are not net sellers. And it looks like they're starting to come back, and maybe they can take the stock up to 200. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, looking at the daily smart money chart, we get a completely different picture. And if I started off by looking at this chart, I would certainly say this is not a stock I want to trade on a regular basis. And so if I was still interested in this stock, then I would move to the weekly charts and focus on the weekly charts only and ignore what happens from Monday to Friday. Now, we did start off by looking at the monthly right side chart, and there was a period in which we closed below the previous month's low, and that was over here. And so that showed up as a weekly sell signal, and you can see we had some confirmation down here that we were going through a weak period, and then we came back. So this happened a year ago. Right now, we saw a weakness in September and October, and then we popped out in October and started back on a weekly buy signal, and we're still on that buy signal. That has not changed at all. We've had some weakness, but we didn't get 4 dots down here. We never got a sell signal. We certainly traded through the lower channel line, but did not close below it. So coming into this weekend, if we close below 167.37, that would give us a weekly sell signal. Now, looking at the daily right side chart, it looks pretty clear for the last 2 buy signals, but before that, it was quite a mess. And so this is probably a stock I wouldn't want to trade on a regular basis, but I would certainly want to be a long-term investor, and I would certainly focus on the weekly and monthly chart for this particular stock and ignore what happens on a daily basis. Unless I wanted to add or subtract from a position, then I would certainly go to the daily charts for some advice. Now, one of the reasons I want you to start on the monthly chart and work your way down when you're first analyzing a stock is to see where the stock fits in. Just because you read an interesting article about a particular stock does not mean it's tradable, or it does not mean it's investable. It could be tradable, but you might not want to be a long-term holder of a particular stock. And so by looking at the monthly, weekly charts before you get to the daily charts, you can start to figure that out. So in conclusion here, I really wouldn't want to trade GE Aerospace on a regular basis, but I would certainly want to be a longer-term investor in this particular stock. Okay, folks, that's all for this morning's presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention. The next time you'll hear my voice is on Thursday morning.